Amanda and Zara were sisters. Same father, different mothers. Amanda's mother had passed away from a long-term illness even before Amanda could understand what pain meant. She was just 3 years old when her father, Mr. Martins, remarried a woman named Felicia. Life was tough. Mr. Martins didn't have much, but he had a strong heart. He worked hard to make sure both girls, Amanda and Zara, went to school. Even when it was hard to pay their fees, he never gave up. Felicia, seeing her husband's daily struggle, decided to help. She started a small food business, selling hot-cooked meals by the roadside. With time, things got a little better. At least they didn't go to bed hungry anymore. But one morning, everything changed. As Amanda and Zara got dressed for school, Felicia called Amanda aside. "Remove that uniform," she said coldly. "From today, you will no longer go to school. You will hawk food for me. I can't keep feeding someone who brings me nothing in return." That was the end of Amanda's school life. Every morning, while Zara walked to school with her books, Amanda carried a heavy cooler of rice and beans on her head, calling out through the streets, "Buy your hot rice and beans!" She smiled for the customers, but inside, she was breaking. Meanwhile, Mr. Martins had no idea what was happening to Amanda. Because of the nature of his job, he only came home once a month, spending just Saturday and Sunday with his family. And during those 2 days, everything always seemed perfect. Felicia would cook his favorite meals, clean the house until it sparkled, and made sure no visitors came around. She didn't let him step outside either, always finding sweet excuses to keep him indoors. "Rest, darling," she would say. "You work too hard. Let the world wait for you, just this weekend." To Martins, Felicia was the perfect wife, supportive, hardworking, and loving. He praised her every time, saying, "Felicia, I thank God for giving me a woman like you. You're doing so much for our children." He never suspected anything was wrong. He didn't know that while Zara continued her education, Amanda had been turned into a child hawker. He didn't know that every day, under the sun and in the rain, his little daughter carried heavy food coolers on her head, walking barefoot, calling out for buyers. He didn't know that his first daughter, the one who looked so much like her late mother, had become nothing more than a street seller, because Felicia made sure he never found out. As days turned into months, Amanda's life became a quiet storm of suffering. Her morning started before the sun rose. Felicia would drag her out of sleep, yelling, "Lazy girl, you think this house runs on dreams?" Amanda would sweep, wash, cook, and then balance the heavy cooler of rice and beans on her head. Barefoot, with aching legs, she'd walk the streets, her tiny voice echoing, "Buy your hot rice and beans. Please, help me." But her pain didn't end there. Her stepsister, Zara, who once walked down to school with her, now mocked her every chance she got. "Don't come near me," Zara would whisper sharply if Amanda passed near her school gate. "You're not my sister. You're just our maid." Zara often stood with her group of friends, pointing at Amanda with laughter in her eyes. "Look at her," one of them would say. "Wasn't she in our class before? Now she's a food hawker? So disgraceful." Amanda would bow her head in shame, tears streaming silently as she walked away. Sometimes, her former classmates would fling empty wraps of food at her or spill drinks just to ruin her clothes. "Maybe you should eat leftovers like dogs do," one of them once screamed, causing a crowd to laugh. But one afternoon, something happened that nearly shattered Amanda completely. She had just finished selling the last plate of rice when she wandered into a narrow street, tired and hungry. From nowhere, 3 rough-looking boys emerged, their eyes wild and dangerous. "Where you dey go, fine girl?" one of them sneered, grabbing her wrist. I don't have anything," Amanda stuttered, fear gripping her chest. "We didn't ask you what you have," another one laughed. "We just want to play." They pushed her against the wall. Her cooler crashed to the ground. Her clothes tore slightly as she struggled. Amanda screamed, but no one came. Until a voice rose from the end of the street, firm, deep. Let her go. The boys turned. A man sat in an old wheelchair, rolling himself slowly toward them. His clothes were worn, his body frail, but his eyes burned with courage. Who be this cripple? One of the boys mocked. But as he moved closer, something about his presence unsettled them. Touch her again, he said quietly, and I swear you'll regret it. The boys hesitated. Then, like the cowards they were, they ran off, muttering curses. Amanda collapsed to the ground, crying, and the man wheeled closer and stretched out a trembling hand. Are you hurt? He asked gently. Amanda looked up through her tears. This stranger, this poor man in a wheelchair, had saved her. The day after the terrifying incident, Amanda woke up with the man's face in her heart. The way he'd defended her, the strength in his voice, even though he had nothing, he gave her everything in that moment. From that day on, she searched for him after every round of hawking. It didn't take long to find him. He always sat in the same spot near the abandoned mechanic workshop, his old wheelchair beside a crumbling wall, his eyes staring into the distance like he was waiting for something or someone. Amanda walked up to him, shy but smiling. She uncovered a small plate she had secretly saved from her breakfast. Sir, she said softly, holding it out, this may not be enough for you, but please manage it. The man looked at her, shocked. No, my daughter, he replied, shaking his head gently. You need this more than I do. Look at you, you're just a child. Amanda insisted, pushing the plate forward with trembling hands. You saved me, sir. This is the least I can do. Please. He hesitated, staring at her innocent eyes filled with gratitude. Finally, he accepted the food, nodding slowly. God bless you, child, he whispered. Amanda's face lit up like the morning sun. She smiled so brightly it warmed the old man's heart. Thank you, sir, she beamed, skipping ahead with her empty cooler, her feet lighter, her burdens momentarily forgotten. And so it became their secret. Every day, Amanda would sneak out a portion of her food and take it to the man in the wheelchair. Some days, it was just a spoonful. Other days, only dry beans and no meat. But the man always said the same thing. It tastes like royalty when it comes from a heart like yours. They would talk for a few minutes. Amanda would tell him about the people that mocked her, her dreams of becoming a nurse, and how she missed her late mother. He would listen patiently, never interrupting. He never asked her for more. She never stopped giving. She never stopped telling the man her pain. One hot afternoon, as Amanda handed over a small plate of rice and beans to the man in the wheelchair, she laughed, a rare, free laugh that danced out of her soul like sunlight through clouds. The man was telling her a funny story about a goat that once chased him through the village square, and Amanda's laughter echoed down the dusty street. But what she didn't know was that someone had seen her. Zara. She stood at a distance, arms folded, eyes burning with jealousy and disgust. Her lips curled into a wicked smirk. So this is where she hides food? Giving our food to that crippled beggar? She hissed. Later that evening, Zara stormed into the house, flung her bag on the floor, and shouted, Mummy, you won't believe what I saw today! Felicia, who was counting her earnings from the food business, looked up. What is it again? Zara leaned in. That useless Amanda has been stealing your food, giving it to one dirty cripple man on the road. I saw them laughing. She even calls him sir, like he's a king or something. Felicia's face twisted in fury. She what? She roared. Without warning, she grabbed the nearest broom and stormed into the tiny corner where Amanda was resting, her cooler already washed and placed on the stool. You thief! You ungrateful rat! Felicia screamed, swinging the broom at Amanda with full force. Amanda jumped up, confused and scared. Mummy, please. What did I do? You sneak out my food to feed a useless cripple while I sweat like a fool? You feed a stranger while I feed you? You're a witch. She beat Amanda without mercy. The girl cried, shielding her head with her hands. I didn't steal it. I only saved small from my own portion. Amanda screamed through her tears. He saved me. He protected me when some bad boys tried to hurt me. But her words only fueled the fire. Oh, so now you have a man in your life? A crippled boyfriend, huh? You're just like your dead mother, always pretending to be good. Felicia spat. Amanda froze. You never knew my mom. Why talk about her like that? Zara stepped forward and slapped her across the face hard. Never disrespect my mom again. Tears fell in silence now, not from pain, but from deep heartbreak. Later that night, while Amanda nursed her swollen arms and bruised back, she stared out the window and whispered, I just wanted to say thank you to someone that helped me. The next morning, Amanda dragged herself out of bed. Her body was still sore from the beating, but her heart ached more. She quietly tied her scarf and walked toward the kitchen like she always did. But today, there was nothing for her. Felicia stood by the pot, dishing out steaming hot rice and beans into containers. The aroma filled the room, making Amanda's stomach rumble with hunger. She stood silently, waiting for her own small plate, but Felicia didn't even look her way. Mummy, Amanda called out, her voice shaky. Please, I'm hungry. Felicia turned slowly, her lips twisted into a cruel grin. Hungry, she echoed. You must be dreaming. Amanda blinked, confused. But I haven't eaten since yesterday. And you won't, Felicia snapped. You see, I just realized something. You need deliverance. Yes, you'll fast and pray for 10 days. Maybe the demons that make you feed strangers will leave you. Amanda gasped, her eyes widening. Felicia stepped closer, her voice now sharp as a blade. From now on, you'll carry that cooler, walk through the streets, and sell this food while your empty stomach screams for help. Mummy, please. Don't mummy me, Felicia shouted. Remember, I know exactly how much money you're supposed to return. If even one coin is missing, I will make sure no food for you for 3 months. You want to dash food to a cripple? Your crippled boyfriend? You would do that when you start earning your own money. Amanda looked down, her tears falling freely now. I was just being kind, she whispered. Well, next time, you'll think twice before showing kindness, Felicia sneered, slamming the cooler shut and pushing it into Amanda's arms. Amanda staggered backward under the weight of the cooler, but even heavier was the pain in her heart. She walked the streets that day, her stomach tight with hunger, her throat dry, her feet blistered. People bought food and praised the taste, smacking their lips in delight, and Amanda would force a smile, then walk away to the next corner. At one point, a kind woman offered her a spoon of rice. Amanda was tempted, but she shook her head gently. Thank you, Ma, but I can't. By the time she reached the place where the crippled man usually sat, she was weak. But he wasn't there. She waited and waited, but he never came. What she didn't know was that someone had told him what Felicia did to her. 2 days had passed. Amanda's eyes were heavy, her feet sore from walking all day under the scorching sun. The cooler on her head was now empty, her stomach still grumbling from the hunger she had been forced to carry since morning. But as she approached the narrow path that led home, her heart tugged in another direction. What if something has happened to him? She thought. She hadn't seen Sir Jack in 2 days. Not in his usual corner, not at the shade of the broken fence where he usually sat with his old wheelchair. Every day she passed that spot, her eyes would search, hoping to find him there. But it had remained empty. The worry had built up like a storm in her chest. Amanda paused, then turned around and followed the dusty path leading to the abandoned junction near the rail tracks. Her eyes scanned the place desperately until she saw him. Sir Jack! She cried out with a burst of joy. From afar, she spotted the familiar old man in the rusted wheelchair, facing the evening sun. His faded cap sat gently on his head, and though he looked a little tired, he wore a peaceful smile. Amanda dropped her cooler and ran toward him. Sir Jack, I missed you so much. You haven't been here for 2 days. You got me scared, real scared. Sir Jack turned slowly and smiled at her, his eyes lighting up. I missed you too, Amanda. I knew you'd be worried, but I'm glad to see you. She bent beside him, panting slightly. I thought something bad happened. I came here both yesterday and the day before, but you were gone. I'm so sorry I didn't bring you food today. Please forgive me. Sir Jack smiled again, saying nothing for a moment. He just stared at her, his eyes filled with a quiet, overwhelming warmth. Amanda lowered her head, embarrassed. I should have at least brought water, but I didn't even eat either. She didn't let me. She said I should fast for 10 days because I shared food with you. Sir Jack's smile faltered. You're still not eating? He asked softly. Amanda shook her head. Not a grain of rice, but it's okay. I'm just happy you're back. She tried to smile, but her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. Sir Jack didn't speak. He just reached into his pocket slowly and brought out a small handkerchief. With trembling fingers, he dabbed her sweaty forehead. My precious child, he said softly. No one has ever cared for me the way you have. Not even my own blood. You have no idea what your kindness has done. Amanda looked up, confused. What do you mean? Sir Jack didn't answer. Instead, he reached into the side of his wheelchair and brought out a folded paper. He stared at it for a moment, then returned it without handing it to her. Tomorrow, he said gently. There's something I've been keeping for too long. Something I want to give only to you. But it must wait till tomorrow. Amanda nodded, still puzzled. Okay, sir, he smiled one last time. Go home now. Try to rest. She rose, picked up her empty cooler, and gave him one last look. As she walked away, she didn't notice that Sir Jack's eyes had gone misty. The next morning, just around the time Amanda was supposed to go out hawking, 2 sleek black cars pulled up in front of their house. The engines purred quietly, but the presence of the vehicles alone sent a wave of curiosity through the neighborhood. Inside the house, Felicia was bent over, securing the lid on Amanda's food cooler. As she tightened the ropes around it, she heard footsteps approaching. She looked up just in time to see a man in a clean black suit step out of one of the cars and approach her with a respectful nod. Good morning, madam, the man greeted. Please, we are looking for Amanda. Felicia blinked, confused. Amanda? My own Amanda? What for? The man smiled politely. The poor, crippled beggar she has been feeding, he sent us to her. Felicia's face lit up with a greedy grin. Oh, that one. Yes. I always give her food for him. Such a kind girl, she lied smoothly. Her eyes darted toward the car. So, did he send anything for us? Or perhaps you came with money for her? The man shook his head gently. We were sent to take her with us. We will bring her back later today. Felicia scoffed, dropping the cooler lid with a loud thud. Ah, that's not possible. I can't release her to anyone today. She must hawk. She has to sell all this food for me. I don't joke with my business. The second man stepped forward calmly, holding a white envelope. Yes, madam. We know you don't joke with your business, which is why we were instructed to give you this. And 50,000 for today's sales. Felicia's mouth fell open. She quickly snatched the envelope, tore it open, and gasped when she saw the thick bundle of crisp notes. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much, she shouted, her face lit with joy. She started dancing on the spot, clapping her hands. You can now take her. Do anything you like with her. Just bring her back in one piece. She laughed heartily, already imagining how she would spend the money. What she didn't know was that Amanda, standing quietly at the window, had witnessed the entire exchange. Her heart pounded as she listened to Felicia sell her off so easily. One of the men looked up and spotted her at the window. Amanda? He called gently. She nodded slowly and stepped out, her thin frame trembling. She approached quietly. We're here to take you to someone, the man said softly. Amanda's eyes widened, but before she could say anything, the second man added with a knowing smile. Sir Jack is waiting for you. Amanda covered her mouth, trying to suppress the sob rising in her throat. She looked at Felicia one last time, the woman who had made her life bitter, and then at the men. She climbed into the car, still shaking, and as the engine started, she didn't look back. And what Felicia also didn't know was that the conversation had been recorded. Every word, every lie, every selfish laughter, captured. As soon as Amanda was driven through the grand gates of a magnificent glass building, her mouth fell open in awe. Her eyes widened as she took in the glittering structure, tall, shining, and intimidating. She had never seen anything like it in her life. Where are you taking me? She finally asked the driver, her voice trembling with uncertainty. The driver gave a warm smile through the rearview mirror. Sir Jack, the poor beggar you used to feed, he's the one who sent for you. Amanda's confusion deepened. Sir Jack? She looked out the window again and noticed well-dressed men and women in sharp suits and elegant gowns hurrying through the compound, all heading in one direction. Her heart pounded in her chest, but something inside told her to trust the process. So she stepped out of the car and followed. She was led into a spacious, luxurious office with high ceilings, polished floors, and a sweet scent of sophistication in the air. But what took her breath away the most was what, or rather who, she saw at the far end of the room. There sat Sir Jack, on the same wheelchair, but no longer in rags. He was dressed in an expensive suit, his hair neatly styled, his face glowing with health and dignity. He looked like a man of power and elegance. Amanda froze, her lips parted in disbelief. Sir, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Then louder with warmth. Sir Jack, is this your office? Sir Jack smiled, his eyes filled with affection and pride. Yes, Amanda, it is. I wasn't that poor cripple man that I disguised to be. I was only out there looking for something, and I found it. Amanda stood there stunned, tears slowly welling in her eyes as her mind tried to grasp the reality before her. Jack continued, There's more, but I'll explain everything to you in the boardroom. My staff are waiting for us. At his signal, one of the well-dressed men respectfully wheeled him toward the boardroom, while Amanda followed closely behind, her heart racing, her thoughts swirling, and her soul brimming with questions. The boardroom was quiet. Every staff member seated, all eyes fixed on Amanda, and the man she had always known as just Sir Jack, the poor cripple. She stood behind him, unsure of what to expect. Sir Jack, however, had never looked more confident, even sitting in his wheelchair. He turned slightly to face her, then looked around the room. Everyone, he began, his voice calm but commanding. This is Amanda, the young girl who fed me daily, not out of wealth, but out of scarcity. A girl who had every reason to walk past me like the others, yet she stopped, daily, with a smile. He paused, then let out a low chuckle. Funny how life works. Years ago when I was 10, yes, just 10, I had dreams too. Big ones. But dreams don't mean much when you're living with a monster in makeup. My stepmother. Oh yes, the woman had a PhD in wickedness. One day, she got upset that I used her towel after bathing. A towel, he scoffed, as if it was made of gold thread woven by angels. She kicked me, yes, kicked a child, so hard I fell down the stairs, both legs shattered. Gasps filled the room, but Sir Jack simply smiled bitterly. The damage went deeper than anyone thought. Years later, doctors told me the spinal injury had affected more than just my legs. It cost me the ability to have children of my own. Great, right? One woman's hatred turned me into a lifelong patient of silence, pain, and pity looks. Amanda's eyes widened in shock, her hands trembling at her sides. But I promised myself, he continued, that if I ever found someone, just one person, who had every reason to be bitter but chose to be better, someone who showed loyalty, compassion, and a heart of gold when the world gave her nothing, I would pour everything I had into that person. He turned to Amanda fully now. And that person is you, Amanda. Amanda gasped, taking a step back, confused. Oh yes, he smirked. The girl who was insulted for talking to a cripple. The one punished by a so-called mother for giving scraps to a beggar. The one made to hawk on an empty stomach while others feasted. The one mocked by her peers, who knew nothing about her scars but laughed at her shoes. He paused, his eyes now soft. You passed every test without even knowing it was a test. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. So from today, he said, raising his voice, you are no longer just Amanda. No more hawking, no more sleeping with hunger, no more begging to be loved. From this day forward, you are my daughter. I will raise you as my own, not out of pity, but because you earned it. And not just that, he turned to his staff. She is the new heir to my empire. A collective murmur rose in the room. Amanda stood frozen. Sir Jack, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Amanda, he said, smiling. You already said it all with your actions when you had nothing. Then, with a touch of sarcasm, he added, let's see what your beloved stepmother says when her useless housegirl neck becomes the owner of the same company she probably walks past every day. Life has a wicked sense of humor, and so do I. Everyone in the room broke into laughter, some with tears, some with admiration, but all with respect. Amanda could barely breathe. She never saw this coming, from the streets to the boardroom, from hunger to inheritance, and it all started with a plate of food and a kind heart. After the meeting ended and the boardroom slowly emptied, Sir Jack pressed a button on his desk and spoke calmly. Call in the account clerk with the documents I requested. Moments later, the door opened, and in walked a neatly dressed man holding a stack of files. But as soon as his eyes fell on Amanda, the files nearly slipped from his hands. His face turned pale. Amanda, he called out, stunned. What are you doing here? How did you find this place? How did you even know this is my office? Amanda, frozen in place, stared back at the man she hadn't seen in months. Her voice was a soft whisper. Dad, this is your office. Mr. Martins blinked, his confusion mounting. Yes, it is. What's going on? Why are you here? Before Amanda could respond, Sir Jack leaned back in his chair with a knowing smile. Ah, Mr. Martins, he said with dry amusement, instead of interrogating her, you might want to speak with a little more respect to the heir of my empire. The file dropped from Martin's hand. Heir? He repeated in disbelief. Sir Jack nodded and turned his eyes to Amanda, then back to the stunned man before him. Yes, your daughter, the same one you turned into a walking billboard for survival, the one who hawks from dawn till dusk under the scorching sun while your second daughter enjoys air-conditioned classrooms and polished shoes. Martins opened his mouth to speak, but words failed him. I wasn't aware of this, sir, he finally stammered. I always ask about her. I do. Felicia always tells me Amanda is doing well, that she's happy. Sir Jack chuckled, cold and sarcastic. Of course she told you that. That's the line all great manipulators use. And you, Mr. Martins, swallowed it with a smile. No surprise visit. No private time with your daughter that is not under the care of her own mom. That's too careless, man. He leaned forward, his voice sharp yet calm. Let me be clear. Amanda is not here by accident. She is here by grace. She earned her place with love, not lies, with kindness, not comfort, and she will never hawk again under your roof or anyone else's. Martin stood in silence, guilt washing over him like a flood. He looked at Amanda, now standing tall beside Sir Jack, no longer the timid girl he left behind. Sir Jack picked up a pen and signed a document with ease. Martins walked out, shame dragging behind him like a heavy chain. Amanda didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than any accusation. And Sir Jack? He simply smiled, because justice had finally begun. As Amanda was being driven back home later that evening, the sky had opened up in heavy rain. She sat quietly in the back seat, lost in thought. But as they turned into her street, something caught her eye. There, struggling in the pouring rain, was Felicia, dragging 2 heavy groceries bags through the mud. Her clothes were soaked, her hair clinging to her face, and her slippers nearly gave out beneath her. Amanda's heart stirred. Please stop the car, she said softly to the driver. Reverse a little. The car slowed and reversed gently until they were right beside the struggling woman. Help her with the bags, Amanda instructed. The driver stepped out and approached. But Felicia panicked, recoiling in fear. Jesus, I cannot be kidnapped. Please, I have nothing, I swear. The window rolled down smoothly, and there was Amanda's face, smiling gently through the drizzle. Come in, Mom, she said warmly. It's me. Felicia froze, then blinked in disbelief. She stepped closer. Amanda? Amanda gave a small nod. Yes, come inside. It's cold. Felicia climbed in, confused and trembling. The driver shut the door and continued the drive to their old house. When they arrived, Amanda stepped out, the security men from Sir Jack's company following and shielding her with an umbrella. She turned to Felicia and said calmly, I just came to say goodbye properly. I'll be living with Sir Jack from now on. He's taking care of everything. The two uniformed men bowed respectfully before stepping back toward the car. Felicia stared, speechless. The same Amanda she had screamed at, overworked, and sent to hawk in the sun was now treated like royalty. The same child she had silenced was now surrounded by respect and grace. Tears spilled from her eyes. She dropped to her knees, sobbing. Amanda, my daughter, please forgive me, she wept, clinging to the hem of Amanda's coat. I want to have a good life too. Please forgive me. Amanda looked down at her. No anger, no pride, just a quiet, knowing look. I already did, she whispered. Goodbye, Mom. She turned, stepped into the car, and drove away, leaving behind the rain, the pain, and the past. A new chapter had begun. Meanwhile, that marked the beginning of the storm in the once quiet house. Martins came back home that evening, fury written on his face. He barged into the house. Felicia, he roared, you lied to me. You told me Amanda was fine. You told me she was okay. Felicia stood in the middle of the living room, her eyes red from crying. I didn't lie. You turned my daughter into a hawker, he shouted. You made her suffer while your own daughter enjoyed luxury? You made her go hungry for no reason and punished her for being kind? You sold out my daughter for money, 50,000 naira. Zara, who had been sitting in a corner, burst into fresh tears. Dad, I can't stay here anymore, she wailed. Amanda is living in affluence with drivers and security men. She's now the heir to an empire. And I'm here in this prison. I want to go and beg her too. Martins shook his head in disbelief. I'm done with this house, he said coldly. You've killed every bit of peace I had left, Felicia. I'm not coming back. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Days passed, then weeks. Amanda never returned again, and Felicia's world grew smaller and colder. One night, Felicia collapsed in the bathroom. Zara rushed to her, screaming. The hospital report said it was a stroke, brought on by stress, regret, and untreated high blood pressure. She could no longer walk properly. Her speech was slurred. She sat day after day on the plastic chair outside the house, watching Zara hawk bread and fruits down the same street Amanda used to. Each time she saw her, her eyes would fill with tears. I'm sorry, Amanda, she would whisper into the wind. I wish I had loved you. I wish I had seen your worth. Zara stayed with her, but the glamour of her past was gone. People who used to come around stopped. Felicia had nothing left but memories and regret. Meanwhile, across town, Amanda stood tall beside Sir Jack, learning the ropes of the company, her once scarred life now blossoming. She never spoke ill of Felicia. She never tried to punish her. But karma had done what Amanda never could. It taught Felicia that wickedness always returns home, just in a different form. Hello, besties. Thank you so much for watching today's story. I hope it touched your heart just like it touched mine. Moral lesson: no matter how hard life gets, never stop being kind. Your good heart will open doors no one can shut. And remember, those who mistreat others may laugh today, but karma always finds its way. Advice: be like Amanda, humble, kind, and patient. And don't let anyone's cruelty change your beautiful heart. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with someone who needs this message. I truly appreciate every single one of you. I love you all, and God bless you, besties.